Hello and welcome to another episode of Guess That Record. I am your host, Jackson Reed. This is the show where we talk about music and try to figure out which album I pulled from my collection. Thanks again to you, the listeners, for tuning in to another episode. Our guest has had an amazing career journey, going from the world of finance and business to music. Writing and performing his own songs, his new album, One Last Dance, is available now. I'm super excited to welcome Pete Muller to Guess That Record. How are you doing, Pete?
Great, Jackson. It's been a fun long week. So yeah, I'm good. How
Awesome.
are you?
I'm doing well. And where are we talking to you from today?
I'm actually in New York City today.
Awesome. Awesome. And one way that I usually like to start out with these interviews is I like to ask, what was the first song or the first album that you remember hearing that made you take music seriously?
Wow. Okay, that's a great question. Um, I think it was when I took jazz piano lessons and I was turned on to Les McCann and Eddie Harris live at Montreux.
Okay.
It's a record that has a song, trying to make it real compared to what on it, and I just played that thing to death. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think like you obviously have a very, very interesting career path. Um, and from the sounds of it, you started out with music pretty early then.
Yeah, I took classical lessons at 10. I quit when I was 15. I was bored, and it was that jazz teacher that saved me. He taught me how to improvise, and that uh, began my love of music. Because for me, music is about creating, kind of figuring out what's inside you and getting that out.
For sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
um,
And then, for those who maybe aren't familiar with you and your background, of course, you have been very successful in finance. Is that correct?
yeah, I never was interested in finance, curiously. I was always really good at math and music. Those were my 2 passions, and, I wanted to live in California. I had, moved out there to play piano for a gymnastics team and realized it was a tough way to make a living. So I looked for a job programming, and I was lucky enough to find a really kind-hearted company run by a Zen Buddhist econometrics professor called Bara, and I realized that finance was all math, and I jumped in. And long story short, eventually I went to Wall Street to try to use those models and techniques that I used to try to beat the markets. And I built a group that's very successful. And we spun out of a bank in 2012, and we're going strong. And we have 280 people. I'm kind of more of an executive chairman these days, but I managed to balance my passion for music and math.
For sure, yeah. And so yeah, like you I think it's great how like you kind of, had a lot of success in finance, which kind of allowed you to then pursue music. When did you kind of take the plunge from going like just playing music for fun to like starting to make records?
Yeah, that's a great question. I never, until I guess the early 2000s, I never sang. I always, I played piano, improvised, had jazz bands and things like that. And then when I built my group, it required a level of obsession that I'm capable of, but I kind of abandoned everything, including music. I had a grand piano in my apartment that I hardly touched. And once I achieved the level of success with the group that I wanted, I realized that I wasn't having fun anymore. And when you're not having fun, it's hard to keep a relationship. And my relationship blew up. And the way I processed the tough emotions around that was to write a song. And I realized I like that, and I wanted to pursue it. So I took a break from the group and dove into music. I ended up going to graduate school at Tisch for about 6 weeks before 9/11 happened. But I learned songwriting and critiquing, and threw myself into building a songwriting circle that met at my apartment for 5 years in a row. And once a week, people would bring new songs. I would cook dinner, and we would critique each other's songs, and that just helped me become a better songwriter. I started recording, and I put a couple of records out and got excited about doing it. And then kind of took a little break because I met the woman who would become my wife and had a couple kids and moved to California. But somehow I managed to keep the group I built and keep the music. And then starting in about 2014, I decided that, well, if I was really going to be serious about music, I better dive in. And that's when I met Rick DePaffy, a wonderful producer who's no longer with us. We made my third album together, and that led to some fortuitous events, meeting Rob Mathis, produced my next two. And then I've made a couple more records since then and been touring around the country with my band. And it's just a lot of fun. I'm doing it for love and passion. And, when people see me on stage, that's what they say, it's a really happy place for me.
For sure, yeah. And how many, just to clarify, how many records have you made at this point now?
So I have 7 original albums. I just released the last one last month, November 14th. It features a duet with my friend Allison Russell, who's an amazing Americana artist. That was really fun. We've gotten a bunch of radio play. NPR picked us as one of the top 10 Americana albums that week, which was a great honor. So 7 of those I've made 2 cover records with my band as well. Yeah, and we have a live recording album out as well. So I guess that
Awesome.
would make 10.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And of course, this new album is called One Last Dance, which you just alluded to. And it was interesting kind of reading about the story of it because, like, a good chunk of it was, well, I should say, half of it was made in England and the other half of it was made in America. So, what was the process like of putting it together?
Yeah, almost all of it was actually made in England. So my wife was in a graduate program with the LSE, and she was graduating in London, and I was flying out there, and I thought, okay, if I'm going to London all the way from California, where we live, maybe there's something else I can do. And it turned out that Peter Gabriel's studio, Real World, in the south of England, was available that week. So I checked with the band, and they were free, and so we thought we would all go out there and just workshop songs and see what we had. Um, but we ran into this wonderful engineer, a woman named Katie May, who just won a Grammy, actually, who's a head engineer at Real World. Um, and we worked with her and basically laid down 10 songs. And by the end of that week, we had something that was close enough to being able to release. And we were really thrilled with what we came up with. And then we ended up working with Rob Mathis, and Katie came over too to Power Station in New York to put down some strings, some horns, a little mandolin, a little accordion. We had some other friends join us for the record as well. So, but most of it was actually done in England. It was just a great week at Real World. Such a fun experience.
For sure, for sure. And it's I think it would also be good for the listeners if you could highlight the members of your band and what they all do for you.
Oh, I'd love to. First is Skip Ward, who's on bass. I've been playing with him forever. And back when I was living in New York City, we would have a monthly gig down at Cafe Vivaldi, and Skip would always play with me. He was, he's a wonderful bass player. Played with tons and tons of people. When Steve Martin pulls out his banjo, he'll play with Skip. So Skip's on bass. On drums, for the last 2 years, I've been working with a fellow named Andy Mack, who also plays some acoustic guitar with us. And when we do a trio, Andy's with us. He's an amazing drummer and a singer-songwriter in his own right. He plays in New York City all the time, and he does our harmony arranging. He's really fun and quirky, and a crazed Buffalo Bills fan.
Mm.
His mood really depends on how the Bills do on any given Sunday, which is an interesting thing to have going on. So that's the bass and the drums. On guitar is Eric Donnelly, who I've known for a long time. He's in my songwriting group. He's an amazing songwriter. He plays for a band called the Alternate Roots, but we have him with us whenever we tour, and he's an amazing guitar player. In England, he laid down, oh, I don't know, 10 different guitar parts on every song. He would stay up late with Katie. We would all be done by 8:30 or 9, long 8 hour, 9 hour day. And he would stay another 2 or 3 hours and just keep on adding things. Just a wonderful man with great songwriting sensibilities. That's Eric. And then rounding out the band on fiddle is Martha McDonald, who is an amazing fiddle player, an amazing singer songwriter herself. She's been on Broadway in the Bob Dylan Girl from the North Country musical, and she's just an incredible presence on stage. And when we tour as a smaller band, it's a trio, so it's Martha, Andy, and myself, and our 3-part harmony is kind of the core of what makes the band. So
Awesome.
yeah, there you go.
This episode of Guess That Record is sponsored by Marvel Marketing. Marvel Marketing is an award winning digital marketing company headquartered in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Working with clients in different industries from all over North America, including Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Marvel Marketing services include website design and development, website maintenance, search engine optimization, public relations services, and social media management, amongst others. To find out more, visit marvelmarketing.ca. This episode of Guess That Record is sponsored by Guitarworks. One of Canada's top independent music stores for over 30 years, Guitarworks carries a huge selection of musical instruments from the biggest brands in music, including Gibson, Fender, Martin, Yamaha, and Paul Reed Smith. Visit any of their 2 Calgary locations or shop online at guitarworks.ca and join the Guitar Perks program to earn money back with every purchase. Guitarworks, your total guitar store. This episode of Guess That Record is also sponsored by Recordland, home to the largest selection of music in Canada. Buy, sell, and trade tapes, CDs, and vinyl. Located in Calgary's Inglewood neighborhood on 9th Avenue Southeast, visit them in person or on Instagram at Recordland Calgary. And how long have you had all of these guys together?
All of them together, it's been just a couple years. Skip forever. Andy's been 2 years. Martha probably 6 years, something like that, 6 or 7. Eric, I've known for a long time. We've played on and off for many, many years. Uh, so,
Yeah,
but this collection of 5, which really works, is the last couple of years.
cool, cool. And then, going back to the album's creation, you mentioned that the New York overdubs were done at the Power Station. And it was interesting when I was reading your bio, there was just this little tidbit that you helped save the Power Station. And I was like, what was up with that there?
Yeah. So for people that don't know, Power Station was a legendary recording studio. It's probably one of the top 10 in the world, and kind of in the same place as Capitol Records or Abbey Road Studios or RCA in Nashville. And I made my 3rd record with my friend Rick DePaffy, who I mentioned before, and we made it at Power Station. And I had such a great experience, and I realized that I really wanted to keep doing music seriously and really throwing myself into it. So I asked Rick to see if he could find me Rick works with John Laventhal, yeah, or worked with John Laventhal and built out John's home studio. John's married to Roseanne Cash, and we did some recording there too. And I wanted a little studio just like that. And so I asked Rick to try to find a studio apartment in New York that we could build out. And he came to me one day and he said, Pete, you remember Power Station where we recorded? And I said, yeah. And he goes, they're going to sell it and make it condos. And I had this dream that maybe you could, you know, buy it or somehow and save it and maybe make it the Berklee School of Music in New York. And because I was on the board of the Berklee School at the time, and I said, Rick, you're absolutely crazy. I don't want to do that. That's just an amazingly messy, crazy project. Well, I went to sleep that night and I realized, well, somebody has to do something crazy like this and give back to the world. Why not me? And so I did it, and found my friend Stephen Weber, who was also very friendly with the president of Berklee, Roger Brown. And we both trusted Stephen, and Stephen took on the project. And we saved Power Station. It's thriving now as with the master's program in Berklee, and I have a studio on the 5th floor. So, which I'm actually heading to right after this interview to do some recording. So
Awesome.
it worked out great. I mean, it was quite a few years of pain, but we got New York City to cooperate and participate. They were thrilled to do both, save the studio and bring Berkeley to New York. So it was a win-win story.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And I mean, like for people who may not know, like that was the studio where Born in the USA was recorded, and just so many hit records were made in that studio. So that's cool that you have preserved it, or helped preserve it. So
I
yeah.
was thrilled to be able to do that. They just filmed the Bruce Springsteen biopic there,
Mhm. Yeah,
which
yeah.
was yeah, it was fun.
And, going back to your record and recording it there, of course, like, you were doing, like, string overdubs and, like, some of these, like, bigger overdubs. What's it like to arrange those and get those recorded?
Ah, well, I don't do the arranging. My friend Rob Mathis, who's probably the best string or horn arranger on the planet, does them. He actually produced my next two records. It was funny. I met him because we threw a party when after we saved Power Station, and he in the party he tracked me down. I mean, I knew who he was, but I had never met him. And he said, "Who do you realize what you've done? Do you realize what you've done? What you've helped save." And I said, "Yeah, cool." And he goes, whatever you need, Pete. I'm so grateful to you." And I'm like, "Well, unfortunately, my producer Rick DePaffy is he had a brain tumor. Is not going to be able to make my next record. I need a producer." And he said, "Sure." And so I ended up working with Rob on my next two records. And I work with him whenever I write songs. He's just a great sounding board for those things. But he did the arranging of the strings and the horns. He's really really good at it. So it was super fun to watch him do that. And then when he's doing it and playing in the studio, I'm there and watching and listening and going, I like this, I don't like that, and then we argue back and forth. And, sometimes I win, sometimes he wins, but he's really really good at that.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, but, the record has had a lot of success on radio, and, it seems to be getting good reception. But what is next for you after you get through this release here?
Oh man, there's always that question. What's next? What's next? I've been writing some. I probably have half of a new record written. I might do a solo cover record. I've been having a lot of fun, doing some covers as well. Right now, December is a pretty heavy time for the business. So I'm going to think about it more in January. Um, and But I'm excited to travel around. We're playing in Florida in January, and looking at booking dates later in the year. So um, playing music, writing music, having fun. My kids are also in high school, so I'm going to be home a lot because they'll be leaving for college. My son has one more year, my daughter too. So yeah, it's a crazy transition time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, Pete. Well, we are now entering into the guessing segment of this podcast.
Indeed. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain the rules to you and any new listeners we may have. So, in this bag here is a record from my collection. I'm going to give you 3 clues about this album, and then we play a game of 20 questions to try and figure out what the album is. So,
Three clues.
yes.
Okay.
Pete Muller, are you ready to guess that record?
I am ready.
All right. Here are your 3 clues. This album came out in the 1970s. It,
Okay.
it is the breakthrough album for this artist, and it features arguably this artist's defining song. Question 1.
I have a guess actually, but I'm going to start with is the defining song the title of the album?
It is. Question 2.
When you open up the album, is the guitar playing lead singer smiling at his I think if I remember this album right, at his saxophone player with like a big grin on his face, and
Yep.
is the album white?
It is white. Yep.
Oh, it's got to be Born to Run.
It is.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, that was
what
easier than I thought it was going to be.
well, I found out you
Oh,
liked Bruce Springsteen, and so it made it easy to kind of choose which record to go with. But what can you tell the listeners about Born to Run?
oh man, that album is fantastic. My favorite. I love Springsteen. I love his writing. I love his passion. I love the two records before Born to Run too that I discovered. And I was raised in New Jersey, and it took me a little while longer to get into Bruce than I would like to admit, because when I was young, I could have seen him in very small venues, and I had some friends going, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. But I Born to Run just changed my mind. Thunder Road at the beginning of that record is just such a beautiful song. The piano on that is awesome. The lyrics are just so evocative, and when Bruce writes and sings, he just puts his full heart into everything that he does. It's just amazing. I saw his show on Broadway, which was amazing. It's also, I think, available on streaming. Um, Jungle Land is on there too, with an incredible solo from Clarence Clemens. It just goes on really long. I remember listening to that song in the car with my kids, and on the station I listened to called Eclectic Rock that just pulls random stuff out of the air. And Jungle Land came on, and I'm playing it while I'm driving my kids to school, and I'm just like completely getting into it. And then there's this, I don't know, minute and a half song sax solo on it, and my kids are like, "Dad, when is this song going to be over? Oh my god!" And back in the days when it was okay to get away with a 7 or 8 minute song, but that sax solo, I know every note. It's just amazing. Meeting Across the River is on there as well. It's just, and the title cut, Born to Run, it's just such a beautiful album. I think a lot of it actually was made at Power Station. um, there's a great picture of Bruce on the walls there from those days when he was making the record. It's
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
um,
No, I'm there with you for sure. It was um like I think for me, like Born in the USA and Darkness on the Edge of Town were sort of the first two that like really got me into Bruce. But like you mentioned Jungle Land, like that was the one that like made me go, "Oh man, like this guy is for real," you know? Because again, like it's such an epic song, and that saxophone solo, you can't beat it. Um and it's also an interesting record. Like I personally think like if I am introducing someone to Bruce Springsteen, I think this is the album you start with, because it was really where he kind of figured out his style and his musical persona, I guess. Um, and and like I mentioned, it was his breakthrough album, and it needed to be his breakthrough album because his first two records didn't sell well, and it was sort of a last chance for him. And that's, I think, why it's such a grandiose album, because there was a lot of pressure for it to be a hit.
yeah, no, it's amazing. In those days, you could actually put out 3 albums before they gave up on you.
Hmm.
The record companies do not invest in the same way now. There's just no profit in selling albums, and it's a very, very different world. But yeah, that was his last chance.
Yeah.
And all those first 2 records are amazing too. Like the song "I Came for You," "It's So Hard to Be a Saint in the City." I mean, there are a lot of amazing, amazing songs on those records. They're a little less polished, a little
Hmm.
less produced, but I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, so and that passion is still there. Um, when he went through the very polished phase, "Born in the USA," "Darkness on the Edge of Town," they're really great records, but they're not as visceral to me as those early ones.
Yeah.
I like
I
Nebraska too. I like the departures. I like it when you really get to see into his soul.
For sure. Yeah. It's I think like yeah, though it is interesting, like, it does seem like the diehard fans definitely speak highly of those first 2 records in particular, even though they are very different than what came after. But yeah, no, there's a lot of, kinda jazzy elements and just different stuff on those records for sure. I
Yeah.
also wanted to this copy of Born to Run I wanted to talk about actually because it's different than a usual copy. So this is actually I'll put it up to the camera here, but this is a radio press preview copy of Born to
Oh,
Run.
wow.
So this would have been
I can't make it out if there's.
yeah, I'll put a picture up for the viewers as well, so that's a little more clear. But it's basically it says Columbia Records demonstration not for sale. So this copy would have been sent out to a radio station or something like that before the record came out. And I found it in a record store in Seattle, of all places. And I was like, well, I got to get that because it's yeah, and it's also different because the on the vinyl, the Columbia Records imprint is white instead of red. So that's also
Ah,
kind of unique about it. But
oh,
yeah, I
and
guess
that picture on the cover, when you open the cover up and you see him looking at Clarence,
well, I think it's
right?
just him in the middle.
No, no, the other side, the front.
The front cover, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that cover.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is just that's such an iconic image.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess just to quickly wrap up, of course, you mentioned you got to see him on Broadway there. I finally got to see him for the first two times on this most recent tour that he was on. But do you have any other memorable experiences seeing him live? Since that's like such a huge part of the Bruce Springsteen experience is seeing him in concert.
Yeah, I have not seen him enough times. I remember the earliest time I actually ended up seeing him was at the Meadowlands, which was a little too late. I would have liked to have seen him in a small club. I did hear him play some songs at a Music Cares event, which was really great.
Hmm.
Um, the quiet room with Bruce is just amazing.
For sure.
But I think seeing him on Broadway and that nothing beat that.
All right, Pete. Well, we have reached the end of the interview. I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show today. It was great to speak with you. And where can the listeners check out yourself and your music?
Thanks, Jackson. It's PeteMuller.com on the web is a link to all things Pete. You can also find, just look for Pete Muller, Muller, on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, wherever you go. And, I regularly post on Instagram at Pete Muller Music. So all those choices are there. And if you like what you hear, I love hearing from people that enjoy the music. So feel free to ping me.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Guess That Record. Make sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen and tell your friends to check us out. I want to shout out our radio partners currently airing Guess That Record as a syndicated show: CKMS in Kitchener, Ontario, CKXU in Lethbridge, Alberta, and South Devon Sound in Kingsbridge, UK. So if you're in those markets, be sure to check those stations out to hear the show. If you're with a radio station and you'd be interested in adding Guess That Record to your programming, send us an email to guessthatrecordpodcast@gmail.com. We'd also appreciate it if you follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where our username on both platforms is at Guess That Record. And lastly, subscribe to our YouTube channel to see the video versions of these amazing interviews. Remember to keep rocking, and we'll see you on the next episode of Guess That Record.